Actually, it's not evening, so good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for being here at our Goals Workshop. Just give me 1 second here, and we will go right into the Goal Setting Workshop of May 8th, 2024, 4 p.m. Welcome to the Agoura Hills City Council Goals Setting Workshop. Please silence all cell phones and other electronic devices. Public comments are limited to items on the workshop agenda. If you wish to speak or submit a written comment, please complete a comment card and hand it to our city clerk. I'm now calling this meeting to order and defer to, how about Councilmember Klein-Lopez, would you like to do the flag salute tonight?
I would be honored. Thank you.
you.
Right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. And now we will defer to the city clerk for a roll call.
Good afternoon. Councilmember Anstead?
Here.
Councilmember Lopez?
Here.
Councilmember Wolf?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester?
Yeah.
Mayor Buckley Weber?
Here.
Mayor Buckley Weber, you have a quorum.
Thank you. This section is reserved for public comments. Oh, I'm sorry, we're going to do the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda. Deborah Klein-Lopez.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester seconds.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, will you take a roll call?
Councilmember Anstead?
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Wolf?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester?
Aye.
Mayor Buckley Weber?
Aye.
Mayor Buckley Weber, you have approval 5-0.
Thank you. We're now moving on to public comments. This section is reserved for public comments relating to the goal setting workshop. If you have something to distribute to the city council, please hand it to our city clerk. Public testimony is limited to 3 minutes per speaker, and a speaker's time may not be transferred to another speaker. Persons addressing the city council shall not engage in disorderly conduct that disrupts or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting. I will now defer to the city clerk.
Thank you. Our first speaker is George Coleman, followed by Carolyn Tricino.
That doesn't count towards my 3 minutes, does it? Well, I'm here today. I have been requesting the interests of the residents and the community of Liberty Canyon to change or modify the present monument sign stating Country Glen Road to Welcome to Liberty Canyon. And there are quite a few people from Liberty Canyon that are here. And Fran's not here yet.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Mr. Coleman.
Because we wanted to get Fran here, you know. That's good.
Oh,
Anyway,
okay. Is she here? I don't see her.
no,
Okay,
she's in disguise.
I see.
This would be a better expression of the area both practically and artistically. Attached to the handouts you have are photos of both signs and a graphic providing the distances and other aspects of the road. My understanding is this request has lingered for over 3 years, despite the fact, as expressed to me by our mayor, Elise Buckley Weber, and I quote, the council agreed that it would like staff to look into it, and then the staff will take it to the relevant subcommittee. The subcommittee will make a recommendation to the full council at the May budget meeting, and I presume this means prior year's budget meeting, not this one. The council will then decide on this request and all the others and decide which goals will be part of the next year's budget, financially and staff time. I've also attached a proposal from the sign company that our city has used in the past. If our city staff installs the sign after it is completed, an easy task, it will cost $603. About 2 weeks ago, I met
Sorry,
with
Mr. Coleman, are you still quoting me
Yes, I quoted you.
on the $600 charge?
No, that's
Okay,
the,
so there
your
was an
quote
end
is over.
quote in there
Then
somewhere.
okay.
Okay, great, because I don't know anything about the cost of a sign.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
The separated. It's
Oh,
not.
okay.
The quote is actually your quote to me, so about 2 weeks ago, I met with Amy Brink on a different matter and discussed this project. She expressed enthusiasm for it and thought it was a grand idea. When you check the graphic with the appropriate distance from the crossroads on Liberty Canyon, there being only 2, the existence of the signage on the monument seems ridiculous. This road is Liberty Canyon and a welcoming entrance to the Liberty Canyon community. It would be particularly nice and an enhancement with the wildlife crossing being built nearby. After all, if one heads down Liberty Canyon to the end, there is a fence close to open space, which is Liberty Canyon. Since each of the 2 streets, Country Glen and Rear Way, have their own pole signs, is why the existing worded single monument makes no artistic or practical sense. You will certainly bring smiles and happiness to the folk that live in the Liberty Canyon community if you will endorse and create a resolution that creates the modification of the sign. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Carolyn Tricino.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, City Council, City staff. First, it was a pleasure to work with many of you at Community Services Day, staining the rails on Driver. The next morning, I rode my horse on the path, and it was not unlike most mornings in Agoura, Old Agoura. Along the way, I passed walkers and joggers and parents with strollers and hikers. These remarkable pathways serve our community as sidewalks. The pathways bring safety to Old Agoura. So many people visit us and enjoy our parks and our nearby parkland. We have families training for the great race on the pathways. And students at Agoura High use these pathways. So many people appreciate them and the city of Agoura Hills for creating them. However, more work must be done to keep us safe and off the streets. The pathways must be included in every road repair project in Old Agoura. I know there are plans to move up the road repair work on Chesbro this summer when you do your annual road repair and overlay project. Please build out, upgrade, and restore the trail network simultaneously. Please include our small ask for Fairview and restore the pathway between Driver and the top of the first hill where there is a blind spot. It's on the east side heading north from Driver. Our Everyone Safe Passage team wants to continue to work on plans with the city of Agoura Hills to see increased safety in Old Agoura, now and in the future. We understand Kolodny Drive was budgeted for design in the fiscal year 24-25. We want to ensure the public pathways are included in the design and the construction. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tricino.
Thank you. We have no further speaker cards.
Thank you. We will now move on to a discussion of City Council's short and long-term goals. I'll now defer to City Manager Nathan Hamburger for the staff presentation.
Thank you, Mayor and honored council members. I'm glad to be back this afternoon for our second goal-setting workshop. As we move into the next slide, we'll just briefly, as a recap for everybody, so our first workshop was to go over the already established goals in our 2-year budget, and then to look at, is there any priority shifts or changes, additions that want to be made? We've now taken those back to the appropriate subcommittees and have feedback for those. So we'll go through that. But what I am going to do is just briefly give the presentation over to our finance director, and for the next 2 slides, just to give you a general overview of the economy and some of the things that we'll be facing the upcoming year. And just as a reminder, we will have a formal presentation on our sales and property tax from our consultant coming up, as well as the deep dive into the numbers at your June budget workshop. So we won't dive into those numbers this evening, but we will get back to those, and just want to assure the public that we will have all of that available. So Diego, if I can turn the next couple slides over to you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. Staff will be providing a brief budget overview of the fiscal year 24-25 budget. This is a mid-cycle year, so we are reviewing the 22, 23, 24, and the 24-25 budget. The fiscal outlook for the city is a little stagnant, with most revenues projected to grow modestly over the next fiscal year. Tourism coupled with tourism coupled with projected increases in commercial and residential development will continue to stimulate the local economy. Overall economic recovery expectations. As we move away from the COVID-19 pandemic, inflation, they become issues of the past, and we are facing new challenges. There has been some decline in county and in the city population. There's housing affordability issues, high interest rates, and the daily cost of living pose to influence the city's revenue in the upcoming year. Internally, staff is discussing the use of one-term capital funds and seeing where they could be most effectively used in the upcoming year. And the use of special funds have been appropriate according to the scope of each special fund. The economic outlook, as I mentioned earlier, we've seen a bit of a decline in terms of some of our most popular revenue streams. Sales, property, and transit occupancy taxes are coming in lower than expected when the first budget was adopted, and that's something, as city manager has said, we will discuss during the next couple of weeks when we get into our workshops. Tax revenues have been leveling off over the past couple of years, with the trend expected to continue to some degree. Sales tax projections will require further review at the local, and there's a local economic scenario in terms of how is it affecting the city. Property tax has been stagnant within a high interest rate environment where current owners are reluctant to sell or move. And our short-term rental revenue has fallen short of estimates in this first year of adoption. Staff is currently working on setting together a balanced budget for the fiscal year 24-25, and as city manager said, we will be discussing this in further detail in upcoming budget workshops, and also answering questions about the proposed goals by the city council. Thank you.
Thank you, Diego. And just to highlight some of the upcoming capital projects, so we have quite a few things going on for smaller staff, but very proud to say we're moving forward on these. The Chumash Park restroom renovation, our bikeway improvements, which we received state and federal earmarks for, and so we'll be expending those over the next year. Our street and overlay and paving program, which was mentioned, I think, just by a member of the public earlier. We will be putting in solar and a battery backup at the Recreation and Event Center in conjunction with the Clean Power Alliance. We have a microgrid that we'll be doing at the Civic Center over the next year with funding through FEMA. Our Ladyface Greenway, which we just opened bids on, so I know we'll be bringing that award back to you very soon. Our Hawk Crossing, which is just about to start on Reyes Adobe. And the Wildlife Crossing, although that is not our project, it does take quite a bit of staff involvement and coordination, and especially in phase 2 when it goes over Agoura Road. So we'll be busy with that, but a lot of good things happening. So I'm going to start with our community services goals. The goal that was already established by the council was to implement our next capital park improvement. We've identified that as Morrison Park play equipment. There weren't any additional goals that were proposed in this area, but I am going to turn the presentation over to Amy, our Community Services Director, so that she can dive into where we are with Morrison Park as it affects the goal, and I think we need some direction just on our grant funding. So, Amy?
Great. Thank you, Mr. Hamburger. Good evening, Mayor Buckley and honorable council members. The Morrison Park Playground renovation project was kickstarted by Ryan and Lindsay Goldman, who approached the city several years ago asking for permission to fundraise for funds that would pay for a new set of play equipment. The Goldmans joined forces with the Rotary Club of Westlake Village, and in 2022, the city signed an MOU with the Rotary to complete the project. The project will include a new pour-and-play surface, a new full set of play equipment with lots of updated amenities that will be exciting, easily accessible, and for people of all ages. The footprint of the playground will not change, but everything inside it will. Renovating the playground will require the city to also renovate the path of travel to the playground. The City Council identified this sidewalk project as its next CDBG project, CDBG funded project. This evening, we will focus on the playground equipment, just the playground equipment. Let's discuss project funding. Early on, the cost of the project, not including the sidewalk project, was estimated to be at about $500,000. This is the amount that the Goldmans and the Rotary Club committed to fundraise. I'm happy to report that as of today, they have raised just over $200,000. About a month ago, if you remember, the Southeast Ventura County YMCA stepped up to be a major partner to the project with a commitment of $100,000. The city has, I'm giving you some numbers, the city has $90,000 in Measure A funding that is currently available, and the Community Services Subcommittee recommends that these funds be directed to the Morrison Park Playground project. Staff is requesting this evening that the City Council support the subcommittee's recommendation. To close the gap between the $390,000 that is on the table and the $500,000 cost, staff is working on identifying other cost-saving measures, such as other grant funding sources and having the old equipment donated to a nonprofit who would come and remove the equipment at no cost to the project. The goal is to reduce that cost difference by about $100,000. If the City Council is supportive of the direction that this project is taking, the project would be identified as the next capital park improvement project added to the fiscal year 24-25 budget. This would suggest that the project would be completed during the upcoming fiscal year, hopefully with a full completion by early 2025. I'm being optimistic. This concludes my update on the Morrison Park Playground renovation project, and I am available for any questions.
Betty, have any questions for Ms. Brink? Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, so if you could just clarify for me, originally you thought it would be 500,000 the cost, but now you're thinking it'll come down to 400? Did I misunderstand that?
So we're hoping it'll come down to 400,000. We've been working on, management analyst Pozos contacted a local nonprofit who is willing to remove the equipment for free. We just pay a low shipping cost, so we're waiting to find out. We're waiting for the landscape structure company who cost estimated the project to give us what that cost would be to take it off the table. So we're working on reducing that gap.
That's wonderful. So then we would only have a gap of 10,000, correct?
Well, we don't know what the number is. So we're talking about 100,000, and we're trying to get that cost down. So we're going to take the play equipment removal off the table. We're going to confirm that we don't need any other adjustments to the footprint. So we're working on reducing that cost.
Right. Okay. So if we commit so we're being asked to commit 90,000 of city funds. Is that?
No. So tonight, what I respectfully request is that the City Council support the Community Services Subcommittee's recommendation that we use the Measure A money, which I believe it's $89,900. That's sitting in our fund with RPUSD right now.
Right.
And then we will continue we're hoping to get that cost down. We're also going to look at that cost of, that extra cost is, not the extra cost, but that 100,000 also includes pour and play. And depending on what happens with the Chumash project and the CDBG funding for that, we may have enough left over to put towards the pour and play, because pour and play can be funded by CDBG. So we have a few things we're looking into.
So we're just committing the Measure A funds to Morrison Park?
Correct.
Okay.
We are not asking for any more, we are not asking for any general fund support for this project right now, just the support to use the Measure A funds.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, then. Back to you, Mr. Hamburger.
Okay.
Are we, sorry, my question, are we going to
was
go
just
through
gonna
each one, or are we going to?
I was going to ask if we just can get a
Consensus
consensus
on
on
that?
that, if that's
Okay,
desire of the council.
we don't need a motion,
We don't need
do
a
we?
formal vote
No,
on
okay.
that. We'll bring it all back at your budget, but just to make sure we're heading in the right direction.
Okay, Councilmember Klein Lopez?
100%.
Okay.
I 100% support the subcommittee's recommendation.
Okay, Councilmember Wolf?
The wrong button. Yeah, I support the recommendation.
Okay, great. Mayor Pro Tem?
100%.
And Councilmember Anstead?
I'm part of the subcommittee and definitely support it. Thank you.
Okay, and as a member of the subcommittee, I think it's an absolutely brilliant idea, so I support it 100%. Okay, now we'll go back to Mr. Hamburger.
Those are great. All right, we'll move into the next area, our public works, infrastructure goals, continue the bikeway improvements, as mentioned earlier. We have a light pole solution for Reyes-Adobe interchange and the bridge. Staff will be bringing that back at an upcoming meeting for the council to consider, and then we'll include that in the budget. The tree landscape wall that was requested along Agoura Road is now being included in the wildlife crossing, and I don't know the exact timing just yet, but I have recently spoken with them, and I know Jessica Forte has as well. They're trying to include that in when their landscaping goes in, so we'll have a better timeline coming up in the next couple months, I believe. We'll continue the removal of non-native trees and tree planting opportunities for native trees. As part of this goal, as you recall, we met all the requirements for the Tree City USA. They just don't open the application period until September. So now that we've checked all the boxes on that, we'll submit that application next fiscal year and hopefully be awarded that designation. So I will go now to the goals that were brought forth. The Trailway proposal, Fairway and Chesbrough Road, after discussion by the Public Works Subcommittee, their recommendation to the council is to support working with Los Angeles County to work on the section of Chesbrough Road that is in the unincorporated area of the county, look to extend that trail, and then potentially work with them on partnering on some type of grant funds that are either available to the state or federal government. And then to bring back that information on the trailway at the mid-year. And so that would be the goal of that's requested. The second item was not recommended to be included in the budget, but I do want to highlight in regards to the Liberty Canyon sign. But the recommendation from the subcommittee was that staff go back and have a further discussion with the HOA. I think we have a couple different ideas that we can look at. And maybe we can all meet in the middle and find out what that sign, what we could do to that sign to try to appease everybody. But it was not something that they recommended putting in the budget. So I'm going to pause here and allow the Public Works Subcommittee if there's any comments you want on that, and then the rest of the council feedback on your thoughts.
Okay, let's start. Councilmember Wolf, would you like to start?
Yeah. Can we go back one slide just so we can go through it for the Public Works? Really impressive work with the city getting federal and state funding for the bike master plan. So that's fantastic how that's come along. And the light pole, it was a great project. That's good news. I think it's going to be under budget significantly, and I don't know if you want to go into that. Really proud of that. The tree planting is another big win to be able to partner with the wildlife corridor, improve biodiversity in the city while reaching a goal that I know a lot of residents have had some serious issues with. And then what I'm really thrilled with the non-native tree planting. It's been successful. The city's gotten rid of Tree of Heaven in Old Agoura Park, and it's been really successful in that. And so I think that's a great program, and I'm really excited that we're going to continue that and become a tree city. And then if we can go to the next slide. The Trailway in Fairview, that was complicated. And then the one thing I do want to touch on is Liberty Canyon. Can we go into a little bit of detail maybe, or Mayor Pro Tem, on, we see the Welcome to Liberty Canyon sign and that was brought forward. And some of the complications on why we can't do that specifically. And I think if we could kind of talk about how the issues that I would propose through the city, and then some of the resolutions that the mayor and the committee were talking about. At least I don't want to put you on the spot, but
No problem. I'm happy to talk about how it all started with the staff brought to us at the last meeting. And this is something that has been brought to us many times, and we've never been able to really come up with a solution. So the staff came to us this time with a solution of a welcome to some sort of a Liberty Canyon sign under the oak tree. And they had given us the cost. It's the oak tree is on the south, what I would call the southeast corner of Liberty Canyon and Agoura Road. And we listened and we looked at all of that, and that's just a monumental chore because there's utility boxes there, and frankly, from past discussions, the homeowners don't want it there. So that really was kind of taken off the table, and so we started talking about some of the issues of, for example, who pays for the sign. Obviously, the city can't pay for the sign because then the city would have to pay for signs at some beautiful location like the Fountainwood development. And so, because everybody in the city wants the city to pay for a sign. And then there's liability issues. What happens if there's graffiti on the sign? What happens if the sign falls down? Who takes care of that? Does the city? And we're not saying that we're not open to it. We're just saying all these questions came up again. We couldn't find a resolution. There's not an official HOA for Liberty Canyon, so we don't even know who wants what. And so we decided that, and on top of all of that, when our Public Works Director, Jessica Forte, informed us that, to start ripping up that area this year with this is when we were talking about the oak tree and everything, with the wildlife crossing work going on and the water diversion project that's going on. And we just decided that we're going to go back and we would like to meet with the HOA and we'll sit down and see, because some of the ideas we've come up with, the HOA has already said no. That's not what they want. So we're trying to figure something out that's going to make everybody happy. And I hope that I've expressed that the way that meeting was.
Thank you for doing that. And we want to see the Welcome to Liberty Canyon sign, but some of the issues that came up are not something that we can just rubber stamp. We need to figure out what that looks like. So it looks like, while it says proposed, not recommended, this is something that we're going to continue to work on to find a resolution. I know it's been a long time, but it's going to be a priority for me. But I think that we can come to some resolution, because Liberty Canyon does deserve to have some recognition. It is a special community. I grew up there, so we will continue to work on this.
And I'm glad that Councilmember Wolf brought this up. Just because it's in red and said proposal goal not recommended means we're not going to not look at it. We're going to continue to work hard to find some resolution. We're just not budgeting anything for it yet. So that's where we're at with it. So, anything else? Does anyone?
And yeah, we'll continue to have conversations. I can't engage right now. And then, do we want to talk about Chesborough a little bit, or do we want to?
Absolutely. Okay. I mean, go for it.
So I think that we're looking at all of Old Agoura to repave, but looking at where it gets the highest usage at first. And I think initially with the national park there, that's where the most visitors really are going and walking, and there's a lot of blind corners. But this is just the start of this project. So I think we're looking at Chesborough as the starting place. Is that?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what we thought of, is that as much as we want to see Fairview done, to take the time and budget right now to do that, when we see that, in the subcommittee's opinion, Chesborough Road is the more dangerous one right now. It's treacherous, it's got all kinds of issues, and it's going to take a lot of staff to work with the county. And that's a very big county, so it's going to take a lot of time and energy for staff to do that. And we feel that that's probably going to hopefully pay off in the long run, and to work with the county to get grant money and get Chesborough fixed first. Because if we do Fairview first, our thought was, and I know that the group who has come to us, and we love the idea, but these things do take years. I know you want it to happen this year, and we can start the process this year, but getting grants, I mean, just as we go on through this, most of these projects that we talk about that are coming to completion have been in the works. The city manager and I talked about one today that started before I was on the council. So, and that goes way back to 2011. So they do take a lot of time. And I can't think of one right now that hasn't come to fruition. But we thought, let's put our eggs in the basket of really moving forward on Chesborough. Doesn't mean that, that Fairview won't be considered at a later time, or if Chesbrough can't get done. I mean, we're a little flexible, but we thought that what the best thing to do right now is to work on the Chesbrough part, and let's see what we can do. We have a fabulous relationship with the 3rd District Supervisor, and we've got a fabulous relationship with the Public Works Department there, and so it's a good time for us to be working with them on Chesbrough, and we obviously need them on board to do anything. So that's where we were on that. I don't know if any of you have any questions about that or either of these proposals.
I'll make a comment on the Chesbrough. I think it is important on the Chesbrough for sure, for safety reasons. I use the road quite frequently to mountain bike at the national park, and I know you come close to hitting either walkers or runners or even horses, and that are crossing. So I think the quicker need right now is definitely on Chesbrough. So I just wanted to kind of echo.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester?
And I just want to echo what you just said and what Councilmember Wolf said and Councilmember Ann said. They are on our radar. We are concerned about all the same issues that you are concerned about, and we are working towards it. It may not seem like it, but we'll get there eventually. I know it's not the answer you want to hear tonight, but we haven't forgotten you and we won't forget you. So just be patient with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Klein-Lopez.
Thank you. I just want to thank the Public Works Committee because I know it's a really difficult committee. I know it's not an easy one. Huge money needed to, complete a lot of these projects, and so most of that is going to come from grants, and it takes so much time. So I know you wrangle with these issues, and I just want to thank you for your time. I think in particular, very happy about the landscape tree planting, because that, every neighborhood has their priorities, and I know that, making sure to anything to buffer that sound from the freeway to tree wall. What did I say? Tree planting. Oh, no, tree wall, I meant. Thank you. To buffer that sound for the homes that are on the south side of the freeway. It's so important. I do think it is important that we go a little bit slowly on this sign. I live in Lake Lindero. We don't have a sign for our neighborhood at all because we also don't, our HOA is some of us are in it, some of us aren't. I know Fountainwood is also not a formal HOA, and they have some that I'm assuming the developer put in.
No, actually, the HOA.
The HOA raised money and put it in. Yeah.
Yes.
So I have to really. I know Liberty Canyon is a special place. Trust me, I know, and I love it. But I do want to make sure that we can't set a precedent that we can't then complete with the rest of our residents who feel that everywhere in Agoura Hills is a special place, because it is. So I want to thank you for taking your time and working on that in a way that hopefully will be as successful. So, and yes, our goal is always public safety on the roads. So really appreciate everything and ready to move forward with the subcommittee's recommendations.
Thank you. So does anybody else have anything to add? So Mr. Hamburger, have you heard enough that everybody's on board, or do you want me to go around the room?
No, it's absolutely clear.
Okay, thank you. All right, so then go back to Mr. Hamburger.
So we are going to move on to communications. So we have some updates that are coming, that's already established, coming to our meeting equipment that we'll be looking at. We'll be improving the lighting, number one, this fiscal year, and the next year we'll be looking at our cameras and everything else. The goal that was requested to be looked at by the subcommittee is consideration of a new website structure, and that will also bring us into .gov compliance. The cost of the website is estimated at $100,000 with some contingency built into that number. And so I will turn it over to the subcommittee if any comments, and then for the rest of the council.
Councilmember Klein-Lopez, would you like to start?
Thank you. You know how I feel about communications. This is my favorite part of the goal setting session. So yes, the first bullet point is a continuation to improve our ability to connect with our residents, but also very much in support of upgrading our website. We've heard over and over again from our residents that our website is tough to navigate. The search feature is difficult. And then, in particular, it's very difficult for our staff to make adjustments and edits. And so, it really is important that we can be nimble, particularly when there's an emergency and we need to have information on our website and things like that. So we recommended to upgrade. We've done a lot of work looking at our options and hope to have your support.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. I would just like to second what Councilmember Kleindober said. Also, I'd just like to explain for our audience that .gov compliance, what that means. It means that our website has to end in .gov going forward, and all our emails have to end in .gov, and we're currently .org, correct? So that's a mandate that's come down from the state, so that's why we're having to transition to that. And secondly, as you all know, it sounds like a lot of money for the website, but I just had to replace my desktop computer because it was 5 years old and everything was crashing all the time. With technology now, you have to stay ahead of it, and we don't want to be caught out. So that's why we're moving forward with updating our website. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or other comments? If there's no questions of the subcommittee or Mr. Hamburger, then Councilmember Anstead, would you like to weigh in on this?
I guess I wanted to ask the city manager questions on the website structure and then the compliance to .gov. How much of that 125,000 is for the compliance to .gov?
The compliance, it's tough to give you a dollar figure because the .gov compliance is just that when we make that change, we will then make it to .gov.
Okay.
And then we will be in compliance with the state legislation.
Okay.
So it's not a component of it. It's just when we restructure it, we will bring it all into compliance.
Okay. And when does it have to be in compliance based on, is it a couple years from now?
We do have a couple years from now. Okay. I don't remember the exact date, I apologize, but we do have a couple years, yes.
Okay. And the 125,000 will come out of the general fund?
It is proposed to come out of the general fund, yes.
Okay. Okay. Good to know. Thank you.
Any problem with it?
No, I think I'm fine with it. Is part of that to pay for a communications person? Or is it just for the update that person, is that for an outside organization or for somebody internally that's going to make the updates?
This would be for a contractor consultant to do that. It does not include any staff cost or resources in that.
Okay, and you're okay? You're okay with the staff time? We're not going to need to hire another employee to be able to do this? No,
I think it is time intensive in any update of software programs, but it's something that we do regularly. So it's, as long as we're not doing 10 different software programs or a website all at once, we're fine, which we're not.
Okay.
So I think the staff resources will be adequate to handle that.
Okay, then I'm fine with it. I'm good.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Wolf?
Oh, I'm fine with it. It's great. I mean, we are going to have to go in compliance. I forgot the assembly bill, but it's happening, so we're getting ahead of it. And then, will it include cybersecurity, or it's just the website design, or making the website maybe safer?
For everybody.
End of thought. Sorry.
So, Councilor Wolf, it actually will be a restructuring of the entire website. So we'll include any like email communications we have out, any storage, cybersecurity, all of that will be inclusive in the RFP that goes out.
I can move forward.
Thank you. And I have no real comments about it other than I support it. I'm one of those residents who has had a difficult time over the years with the search engine. It shouldn't be that difficult, and it's gotten better, but still, just to find our municipal code is like a 3-step process, which it really shouldn't be that difficult. So I'm supportive, and I do know that we need to be in compliance with the .gov. So I think it's a good expenditure of money, and probably as we go on through the future, there always will be expenditures on communications because it's really critical that our residents know what's going on, especially during an emergency. So I'm good with that. Mr. Hamburger, you have enough information on that?
I sure do, and I appreciate it. Thank you. We will move to environmental responsibility. So as you recall, this current fiscal year, we are working on an ordinance, so with regards to plastic utensils and polystyrene. And so we anticipate bringing that to the subcommittee very soon, in the next couple months, and then that'll come to the council. And then after that, an education program is what is set as a goal for next year and enforcement of that. The recommended additional goal by the subcommittee was to look for a funding source for business implementation to help them, whether it's ordering in bulk or whether it's finding vendors or purchasing initial supplies. And so the discussion kind of went around that essentially, other than staff resources and time to not have general fund money put towards it, but to look for a funding source and then bring that back to the council for consideration of a program and how we reach out to the business community with that. So with that, I'll turn it over to the subcommittee and then the council for comments.
Thank you, Councilmember Wolf. Would you like to start?
Yes, so this was brought to the committee, and the two big issues really were enforcement and what does this mean for businesses. I mean, this is such a critical issue being here in the Santa Monica Mountains and with all our watersheds draining out to Malibu Creek and into Malibu Lagoon. So this is something that we need to do to be proper environmental stewards, but it's also puts a little onus on the business community out here. So I appreciate that we're looking at the additional goal of providing some sort of funding or some sort of program. I know we haven't quite worked it out, but some assistance in making that transition over to getting us away from styrofoam. And we have to do it. I mean, it's a scourge of our waterways, and I'm really excited that we're moving forward on this.
We had actually hoped that the state would step in and do this, but it's been a very, very slow process. So we've decided it's time for the city to step in with a ban. And the extra, Councilmember Wolf explained it perfectly. We really felt that it was important that we help our businesses in the transition. And, you know, we don't know exactly what that looks like yet, but we wanted to budget some as an additional goal. I don't know if it's a big budget ask, but to help, it's a staff resource to be able to go out and look for some funding. And I think there's going to be funding out there that will help our local businesses transition. And I don't think it'll be happening super quickly. That's not, you know, not to push it like, okay, we're going to have this ban come in and in 30 days, you know, everybody's got to switch over. So there'll be some time, and when the ordinance, you know, proposed ordinance comes to the full council, you'll all be able to weigh in on that. With that, does anybody have any questions or comments about these goals?
Actually, I think I have comments on it, and maybe also maybe action items to try to follow up with. I mean, I'm very supportive of trying to help the environment for sure, but I also want to make sure that we're not putting too much onerous on, just like we're talking about, on those businesses here in Agoura, and specifically the fact that we're going to try to do this if the county doesn't have a ban or if other local cities. And so I guess my thought process would be I would want to know whether there is any type of regulations and any proposed regulations in LA County that is going to happen, and also secondly whether any of the other local cities in the area have also proposed this. Again, so we can try to either one, learn from them, or two, follow with them and try to do it at the same time. I worry about the fact that let's say if the national businesses, the fast food joints, McDonald's, El Pollo Loco, the other fast food restaurants in our area, if they have to implement this, I just don't want it to be too onerous on them. Again, it goes back to the recommendation to look into how this implementation will affect those businesses and what they will have to implement to make that happen. I just want to make sure that we look into all of that. Who else has kind of proposed this, and what other areas, whether it's county governments, and if there are any proposals still in the state to move forward with anything like this too. So I just don't want to do it in a vacuum. That's my personal feeling.
And somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the unincorporated area of Los Angeles County has a ban, so that's kind of our surrounding area.
Okay.
And I think Calabasas.
So
Go
when
ahead.
Senator Pavley was still in the Senate, City of Malibu did it a long time ago, and so they're kind of the example of it. And I think the staff member who helped bring this forward had their whole plan and what the rollout looked at. So they did it over 10 years ago, I think. And they were one of the first in the nation, but Calabasas is going to be implementing it. The county's going to be implementing something like this. So we have a lot of information of what other cities have done and what they've done right and what they've done wrong. We're actually a little, not late to the game, but we're not trailblazers on this. And Westlake is going to, I've heard that they're interested in something like this too. So it's going to be happening, and we're not the first.
Great, that's awesome, and I think that'll be good to have that when we talk about this issue on the council, to have that information. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester, do you have any?
No, I'm all for it. And as you said, let's look and see what happened with the other cities, what worked for them, and where we can tweak it to make sure that the mistakes don't come to us.
Thank you. Councilmember Klein-Lopez?
Especially after our recent trip to the waste management recycling plant and all of the plastic, and that was more focused on bags, I think, but actually just plastic.
Right, plastic.
It was eye-opening, the amount of damage that, plastic is doing to our environment and to our planet. So, anything that we can do to help reduce that, I think it's hitting home a little bit, even more now. So I'm in support.
Thank you. Councilmember Wolf, did you have anything else to say?
Yeah, but to Councilmember Anstead's point, this isn't happening in a vacuum, and it's not going to be draconian where one day I think we're giving part of it. What they've done is you have a year to go through all their supplies. And the big thing that we want to do is figure out how to help those businesses so it's not a big financial loss for them. But, I mean, this is absolutely, I think, the right thing to do and for our planet, our future. And I wish that it was done 10 years ago, but we're doing it now, so.
Right, and I don't have anything else to add other than I'm on the committee, and it's something that we've been hoping to move forward for a couple of years now, and it's clearly not in a vacuum. I hate sitting here and hearing those words that we're not a trailblazer and we're not first, because anybody who knows me, I like to do everything and be the first city to do it, but we are actually behind the 8 ball on this. We didn't have a plastic bag ban. Calabasas had one, and so we do have a lot to look at. That's a model, so I think we're pretty comfortable, and our city attorney is up on it too, so we're in pretty good shape on it. And we'll bring the whole ordinance to you for your comments as well, so when that comes up. So do you need anything more, Mr. Hamburger?
No, that is clear as pure water.
Okay, then let's, pure water. Okay, let's move on to the next category.
All right, we will move into our law enforcement, fire, emergency response. The existing goals already included our support of our CERT program and just some additional storage, equipment, and training that they needed, and the expanded use of public safety monitoring programs with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and LA County Fire. And we will be bringing back an update on our license plate reader, also from the company Flock. A lot of people know Flock cameras. We'll bring that at your budget workshop to discuss an update on that. So the recommended goals that were considered is to expand our CERT training. The goal is really to try to get more individuals involved and aware of emergency response and the training. Unfortunately, the county, because of resources and costs, are not able to do individual cities anymore. And so we would offer this goal to accomplish getting 2 people trained. One of our staff members, John Treichler, has volunteered to do that, as well as Jeff Octel as our CERT lead. So very grateful for them, but the cost to do that and support them in that is a $19,000 one-time cost to go through the program and do the training and to get the equipment. And then the second goal is the home hardening education campaign. The recommendation from the subcommittee is to do more marketing and take a lot of the information that's already existing out there, but utilize that to get that information in the hands of homeowners and people that are struggling to keep their homeowners insurance in place due to the fire issues. So With that, I'll turn it over if the subcommittee has any further comments, and then for the council.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester, you're on the subcommittee, I believe.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to say I took the CERT training and it was extremely informative. And I think a lot of our residents don't do it because they think, well, if I do the CERT training, that means I've signed up to be a CERT team member and I'm going to have to show up to all these events. And that's not true. You can just do the CERT training and then you know what to do in an emergency, and that means that you can help your neighbors. You don't have to join up for the CERT team itself. So that's why I'm all in favor of expanding the training. So, because the more of our residents that know what to do in an emergency, the better off the whole community will be. And secondly, when we talk about expanding the technology, that is the flock cameras. We have currently, I think it's 15 we have now, is that correct?
We have 14.
14.
Yes.
And we're looking to expand that. There are some of our residents came and met with us and they pointed out some blind spots in the city. So we would like to look at those areas to put in more cameras so that we're covering basically all the entrances and exits so that, if we have someone that has committed a crime in the city, they can't go through a side street and get out and then disappear onto the freeway, that we will catch that car. So, and then home hardening, as you all know, this is one of my sort of little pet peeves. We've done it on our house. If everybody home hardened their house, we would all as a community be so much safer. And there's so much information out there online. It's already been done. We don't have to go and create any pamphlets or anything. We just have to get the information to our residents and help them in hardening their individual homes. So.
Thank you. Councilmember Anstead, I believe you're on the committee as well.
Yes,
Okay.
you got it. And I've been on the committee for now, I think, 2 or 3 years. And actually, one of the things that we recommended actually when Councilmember Weber was on Dennis Weber was on the city council was the use of the flock cameras 2 years ago. And I think it's been beneficial to the city. And I think that the fact that we're trying to also cover any blind spots that we currently have in the future, I think is a good goal as well to implement those. And it's been proven effective. That we've actually used the flock cameras to catch criminals, people that have robbed homes and caused other issues. So I'm happy with that, and that's why we're recommending kind of expansion of the use of it.
Great, thank you very much. Councilmember Wolf?
Yeah, first question is, for the home hardening education campaign, did the funding run out or run its course for the last cycle?
We still have our program going that will, if you do the home inspection, you can get a $1,000 grant from the city to make any of those improvements on the list. That will go until the funds run out.
Okay.
But it doesn't cover anything beyond those improvements at this point.
Okay, and so this is adding to that program?
In a sense, yes, but this would come from the general fund where we have grant funds for our program right
Sorry for not understanding that.
Could I just give you something
Please.
else about the home hardening? Is that the California Insurance Commission has, I think it's already in place, legislation that says the insurance companies have to give discounts if you have hardened your home. So that's why it's so important for people. So we may not be able to, we may run out of funds to help them actually do it, but once your home is hardened, then you should be able to get a reduction on your insurance policy.
Okay, that's interesting. Thank you. And that answers that question. For the monitoring programs, so we currently have 14 flock cameras. For the additional funding, do we have targets of what we want to add, or it's just looking at blind spots, or do we not share that information?
No, we can share it. So we're going to bring that full report back, because the reason we're doing it at our budget workshop is because we promised the council we'd do an analysis of it and the success. So we're working with the sheriff's department and getting all that data put together, and we've met with Flock and the subcommittee. So we'll bring that at your budget workshop in June, and we'll lay out additional recommendations that the subcommittee's making for the cameras. Off the top of my head, I believe it's 11 cameras that we're looking at of adding, but we'll have to discuss that further in the placement of all of those.
Okay, thank you. That's exactly what I was looking for. Thank you. That concludes my questions. I'm comfortable moving forward.
Thank you. Councilmember Klein Lopez.
One question. So the CERT training, the one-time cost is to train Jeff Wachtel and JT so that they can then in the future continue our local training? Is that what that investment is?
Exactly, that's correct.
Okay, that's excellent. There's almost nothing on this list that I support more than this page because I think it's so important to our residents in terms of feeling safe in their homes and being ready for emergency. CERT is fantastic. They're chomping at the bit. I'm happy to support them in their current and future goals, and so I'm happy to support that. And then the home hardening is so important, especially with our what is it, 0 to 5 that's coming down the pike at some point. The more that we can educate people, knowing that moving things away from their homes and things like that, the better. So both current and recommended additional, I'm 100% supportive of. Thank you.
And I'm supportive as well. I think that also an advantage, actually, of training JT and Jeff to then train our residents is that we'll have more flexibility with the time that it gets trained, how we do it, do we do it on the weekend? You know, we'll have some flexibility, and we might get more people to participate in CERT, whether they just take the program. And as the Mayor Pro Tem said, it is really important that if you know how to take care of yourself, then you can help your neighbors. It's you know, one less person that the city and the firefighters and law enforcement need to help because you know how to do it yourself. So I think that's really great. And home hardening, you know, there is so much information out there, and I think that a lot of people want to do the home hardening one step at a time and want to maybe do it themselves. So I think if we can educate homeowners on what exactly home hardening is and what's to be done, that it'll benefit the entire community. So thank you. I think you have enough, Mr. Hamburger.
I do. Thank you very much. So I'm going to move to our last area of our land use economic development. The goal that's already in the budget is consider an update to our municipal code regarding oak tree related penalties. And we've already addressed the cost of issuance for residents this year. So that'll be dealing with the penalties of cutting oak trees. And the additional goal that was asked to be considered that is not being recommended is to analyze the best way to protect against new lighting impacts. And I'll let the subcommittee just dive into that a little bit, but in kind of summary, they would like to complete the study that we have proposed for this current fiscal year, which looks at wildlife mitigation areas. That RFP is being worked on, and we'll have that out before the end of this fiscal year, and then bring that the council of that for that award of that contract coming up soon. So I'll turn it over to the subcommittee if you have any comments, and then the council for any feedback.
Thank you. Councilmember Wolf? Oh, I'm sorry, you're not on that committee. Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Klein Lopez.
Yeah, we this year switched. Councilmember Wolf was on it.
That's right, he was
now,
on it. Yeah. It's Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester, yes.
So first one, just keeping the goal going forward. And the second one, we just felt that we have talked about this several times. We talked about it at last year's goal setting. We talked about it in committee. We talked about it on the dais. And so just kind of sticking with the plan that the council had agreed upon.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
I think Councilmember Klein Lopez summed it up very well.
Great, thank you. Comments, Councilmember Wolf?
I feel comfortable moving forward with this. I think it's pretty straightforward, and the municipal code regarding oak tree, it's going to help our residents. I think make the process quicker, easier, and easier to navigate. That's what I was looking for. So I'm able to support.
Thank you. Councilmember Anstead?
Actually, just a comment to the city manager. I know I sat in on the Morrison Ranch Homeowners Association meeting this last couple weeks ago, and they had a lot of discussion about the fact that they're going to be trimming a lot of their trees in their public right-of-ways, and they mentioned they would be doing quite a few oak trees, and they didn't mention anything about permits. So I just want to make sure that you get with the president or somebody there and make sure that they're they're getting permits for their trimming of oak trees.
Well, you're not tattletelling on them because I knew that. No, yes, we have been in conversations with them, and we will continue to work with them on that. And we are aware that they do want to trim back some of the oaks. So.
All right, good to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any problems with either of these?
No, I don't. I
Okay,
think
great.
it's great.
And so I know that, I keep talking about lighting, but I'm going to say it one more time and then I'll let it go. But I think that lighting is a very important factor in our city because when it gets brighter, it just takes so much away from the ambiance of our area. It's small. We live in a small city. We've made some lighting errors, and I think there is a big impact on that comes from lighting up all the restaurants, lighting up the village that will eventually come, lighting up this, lighting up that, and I just as a caution, sometimes I always like having a plan and something to look at, but at least. I agree that how lighting affects wildlife is very important and something that needs to be looked at. So hopefully, as development increases in the city, we'll have an opportunity to maintain, just maintain good lighting standards so that we don't see Agoura Hills from space.
And if I can just clarify for the audience, we are continuing on with the lighting plan that we agreed upon last year. So it's not that we're not considering lighting. It's that during subcommittee, when we were talking about a full citywide lighting ordinance like Malibu had, what was it, the dark skies and things like that, it was such an incredibly massive undertaking that was also difficult to enforce. And so we came to, a compromise of where we were going to try to really focus on light pollution, which was closer to our open spaces. So I just didn't want the public to think that we weren't discussing lighting. We're staying on track with what the council had decided last year.
Right, and so that's for the open areas that, for however long they're open, that will, the wildlife.
Can I just follow up? Is
Yes.
that we have a secret weapon now. We have our light meter reader.
More on that later.
Knows how to use it. So
More
we
on
went
that later.
And so we are, we will protect as much as we can.
Good, I hope so. All right, so I think that, does anybody have any other questions or comments about this? Mr. Hamburger, I'm hearing a consensus.
I am as well, and I appreciate it. Thank you. So I'm just going to move to our last part of this, just for everybody's knowledge. We'll take all the feedback from this workshop and appreciate all the feedback from the members of the public. I think we've met with them individually on a lot of these things, so I appreciate them taking the time, and the subcommittee is spending a lot of time going through these issues. We will be meeting with the subcommittee, finance subcommittee, to review our draft budget and the famous community outreach grants. And then those recommendations, again, will come back to you at your June budget workshop on the 12th. And then with that, we'll take any final feedback or changes to the budget, and hopefully we'll have everything ready for final adoption on June 26th for you. And so that will conclude my presentation, unless there's any questions from the council.
I don't have any questions, but I did see that former Mayor Fran Pavley came in afterwards, and I don't know if you are here to listen, Fran, or if you are here to speak. This is just a workshop, so I don't know if they can fill you in on what's going on, or if you did want to speak on an issue. Then will you come up to the microphone? I hope nobody minds. It's just, yeah. Yeah, there you are. I know. Hey, look at everybody. Looks
What
20 years old.
33 looks like, yeah.
Yeah, yours is in black and white.
Fran Pavley, Agoura Hills. What I'm speaking on, how do I do that? Yes, on now. What I'm speaking about, you were talking about home hardening, and so I texted my longtime seatmate in the state senate, Ricardo Lara, who's your insurance commissioner. He said he'd be glad to send down a home hardening team. So if we save some money, I have a project for you that they'll be bringing up in a few minutes. So anyway, I'd be glad to assist on that, but I'm not sure exactly what that would mean, but he says they can help you out, and he will send down a team. Maybe that'll be helpful. As a severe high-risk fire zone area south of Agoura Road, that would be good.
Great. Well, thank you so much for speaking. We appreciate you coming. There, we don't need any motions because everybody's agreeing. So I'm going to, are there any comments from staff? Any other comments from the City Council? Well, I have one. Congratulations, Mr. Ibanez. You made it through this was your first big budget workshop, and you did a great job. We're not done yet, but we're getting there.
We haven't done community grants yet. We still have some hazing to do. We have to do community grants.
Very kind of you, Mayor, very kind. But I also have to recognize the team who's helped me kind of put all this together, so.
Well, thank you, and thank you, team. We know it's not easy, and we always appreciate the work that you do. Thank you. So with that, I'm going to adjourn. The regular City Council meeting will begin at 6 p.m., and this meeting is now adjourned.